Oh, that's right. Did I say secret cryptography or silent cryptography? Sorry. No new Vulcan benchmarks, eh? MDX above for Vulcan? Oh, I see you guys following videos for new XRT. Sad to see my detectives benchmarking the APIs, which is close to its end of life. What about RX 480 Vulcan?
Fine! Let's talk about the new APIs, DirectX 12 and Vulcan. How they work, how they perform, what they mean for the future, everything. FreshBooks is the super simple invoicing solution that lets you get organized, save time, and get paid faster. Click now to try it for free. Now, what is an API, or Application Programming Interface? In layman's terms, it's a facilitator. It handles requests similarly to a waiter at a restaurant taking orders. You can think of the customer as System A. System A wants to access some functionality or information that System B, which we'll call the kitchen, controls. Now, System B doesn't want to just let System A directly access all of its information. There are security and liability issues here. But not only that, having all these different customers trying to talk to the cook directly, unless timed perfectly, has the potential to be more confusing than helpful. Enter the waiter, or in this analogy, the API. The waiter can serve the customer with a menu of subroutine definitions, protocols, and tools that the customer can use to achieve its task. The customer then sends that request through the waiter to the kitchen, where System B will act out those instructions and then send a response back to System A through analogy, the API. The waiter can serve the customer with a menu of subroutine definitions, protocols, and tools that the customer can use to achieve its task. The customer then sends that request through the waiter to the kitchen, where System B will act out those instructions and then send a response back to System A through the API. Clean, simple, delicious. Theoretically, this is how it works, but they can be more bloated and therefore slow. Have you ever been to a restaurant that has like 4 different menus, one for just all the different kinds of freaking water, with many pages containing a multitude of items which are essentially the same damn thing? Then you can relate to the frustration of not being able to find what you're looking for. Many pages containing
more cold water,
items which are
melted frozen water, water that's cold,
of not being different kinds of freaking water
with ice, ice cold water, ice cold water in glass.
Then you can relate to the frustration of all the different kinds of freaking water with many pages containing a multitude of items.
Fresh water with ice. Water that's cold because it was in the refrigerator. Water with ice cubes that melted. Water.
Which are essentially the same damn thing.
It's cold water.
Relate to the frustration of not being able to find what you're looking for at all. Do you ever just want to throw the damn menus all in the air, stomp over the kitchen, and scream, "Can you just render me a chicken burger and some yam fries? Is that too much to ask?" Okay, let's come back to that later. First, what are they used for? Lots of things. APIs can be used for web-based systems, operating systems, databases, software libraries, or in this case, computer hardware. But as important and ubiquitous as they are, they're not something the average user will ever interface with. So why do we suddenly care so much about DirectX 12 and Vulkan as selling points for games and video cards? Well, hype machine aside, DirectX 11 and OpenGL, the predecessors to the shiny new graphics APIs, are rather bureaucratic. Like the complicated menu analogy, but worse because there are even more degrees of abstraction. There are many systems and devices talking to each other at a time, passing instructions around, with many of them being redundant or outdated. It's just not as efficient, and there are other problems. For instance, one of your processor cores carries the burden of managing the vast majority of all of the critical time-sensitive tasks. One of the main ways that the new graphics APIs are more efficient is that they can use previously untapped hardware resources. Multi-core CPUs are a great example here. Look at this relatively realistic hypothetical scenario given to us by AMD. Thanks, guys. They show that presenting to the user and processing the OpenGL driver onto Core 1, along with a large portion of processing the OpenGL runtime and the largest portion of game code processing. This leaves little for cores 2 to 4 to work on, almost nothing for 5 and 6 to work on, and literally nothing for 7 and 8. And for your reference, DirectX 11 works in a very similar manner. Now let's look at Vulkan, though this is generally applicable to both of the new generation APIs. One of your processing cores is still responsible for a bigger part of the work than any of the others, but overall utilization is noticeably higher, even all the way down to Core 8. Now this is a hypothetical example, so I'm not going to spend. But let's look at Vulkan, though this is generally